The fundamental argument of her book is that the current gender paradigm, which states that gender is a state of mind, a choice of individual rather than a reality connected to the physical body, is fundamentally at odds with the paradigm of gender which is laid out in the opening chapters of Genesis. Hello, my name is Jared Hiebert, and this is the Here I Sit podcast. Today we are going to review this book, The Genesis of Gender, a Christian Theory by Abigail Favale. Favale has been there and she's come back again. For years, she lived in and devoured the world of gender studies and secular feminism along with all of their trappings. But she has been redeemed from them and now is one of their most cogent critics. She continues to be a gender studies lecturer of sorts, but is now committed to her Catholicism, which puts her deeply at odds with her former beliefs. She is both a rigorous academic and a rigorous Catholic, which makes her dangerous for the gender paradigm of her former life and against that which she writes. The fundamental argument of her book is that the current gender paradigm, which states that gender is a state of mind, a choice of individual rather than a reality connected to the physical body, is fundamentally at odds with the paradigm of gender which is laid out in the opening chapters of Genesis. The Genesis paradigm invites us to see ourselves as created, made in God's image, as male and female, and to walk in His ways. Thus, it is only when we acknowledge our createdness and our Creator that we can truly see ourselves as we truly are and embrace the reality of our humanness. In particular, the creation narrative shows us that our bodies reveal our gender. Thus, there is an intimate connection that exists between our body and our psyche. To admit that is good, as God declared about the original couple. To deny it is damaging in a legion of ways. Now, the strengths of this work are numerous. Let me cite only a few. The first one is the autobiographical perspective of the book. Favale outlines her personal journey from a conservative Christian family in her youth to evangelical egalitarianism to postmodern feminism and ultimately queer theory. But somewhere along the line, she was drawn back into the Christian faith. She began to see the emptiness of her thought, and in her search for answers, she discovered Catholicism. Her story both informs and moves the discussion, but also is an example of the way out of the vacant teaching of modern gender theory. Favale's story offers great hope. A second strength of this book is that Favale offers an intelligent, clear understanding of the other point of view. Hers is a critique from the inside. She knows what the other side is thinking, and she knows what is at stake in the debate. No one can doubt that she has understood her opponents before she has set out to disagree with them. A third strength is that it is an unrelenting Christian critique. Though Catholic in perspective, there is much in this work with which a Protestant would wholeheartedly agree. We would get to some of her conclusions in different ways and perhaps make additional points, but there is no doubt that Favale is committed to traditional Christian values. Fourth strength is that it is a loving, gracious, humble, yet absolutely firm critique. Her words are honed and particular, yet they are expressed in ways that demonstrate her love for the people on the other side of the issue. In particular, her chapters entitled Sex and Gender, which build on her examination of Genesis 1-3 in a chapter called Cosmos, they're the heart of her interaction with the gender paradigm. These chapters are both poignant and caring. This book, however, does have a number of things that hold it back. First, as evidenced in the chapters examining Genesis 1 to 3, she is committed to a higher critical view of Scripture, which doubts the historicity of the first couple in Genesis and all that happens in the opening chapters of the first book of Scripture. This perspective weakens an otherwise strong argument made from the creation narrative. A second critique, as we've just mentioned, is that Favale is Catholic and a devout one at that. So her references are primarily to Catholic works, including many references to Pope John Paul's work, Theology of Body. Now, this might be a bridge too far for many Protestant readers. A third issue is that she is clearly committed to sacramental theology and a strong Mariology, which create arguments and perspectives that sound odd to the Protestant ear. In particular, her love of Mary frames the last chapter of her book and guides her discussion of femininity on many points. For Protestants who do not hold these convictions, her reasoning becomes unconvincing and at times problematic. One final critique builds on the title of the subtitle of the book, A Christian Theory. While the above points regarding her critique being sure and sharp are true, there are some points where Favale hesitates to draw out the full weight of her perspective. For example, in her recitation of a conversation with a committed trans woman who also believes herself to be a devout Catholic, Favale offers the possibility that the two sides can indeed be reconciled. Now, if the story is given for the purpose of furthering dialogue, it is a welcome story to tell. But if she is hedging from drawing lines based on her Christian theory, it is potentially problematic. In conclusion, this book is an excellent foray into the current gender discussion, critiques and weaknesses aside. But if the Catholic perspective is too much to overcome, may I recommend a couple of excellent works from within the Protestant tradition. The first one I would point to is available on our YouTube channel. It is a seminar that was put on in Covenant Reformed Church by myself, covering the issues of God, the gospel, and gender. If you're interested in a few books, let me recommend God in the Transgender Debate. What does the Bible actually say about gender identity by Andrew Walker? Also, a book by J. Allen Branch entitled Affirming God's Image, addressing the transgender question with science and scripture. And one final book, Male and Female, He Created Them, a study on gender, sexuality, and marriage by Denny Burke, Colin Smothers, and David Closen. That's all for me. Until next time.